Hey guys, I hope you haven't forgotten me. I haven't really done anything in the last couple of weeks, just trying to survive this heat, 30 degrees Celsius every single day. But this PvE announcement I guess brought me a bit back to life. And in this video is gonna be just my reaction to the league reveal, to the league mechanics, to the balance changes, Royale mode, new skills, gems, supporter packs. But if you don't care too much about reaction and first impression of everything, I'm also gonna be uploading another video going over all the new skills and gems and my early thoughts about what's gonna be popular, what's gonna be maybe just meh. So check my next video for more in-depth opinion about upcoming skills. But before going into a reaction video, I want to say a couple words about all those changes. There are obviously a lot of changes and a lot of nerfs, and even I have some concerns about certain things like flasks. But remember this, Path of Exile is not just one single thing. Path of Exile is a lot of things combined together. If you don't like one thing, that doesn't mean that the game is just bad. You have fun in Path of Exile by doing many things, not just one single thing. Like, you don't just have fun by clicking flasks, right? And despite all the nerfs, we're still gonna be able to go fast, we're still gonna be able to do a lot of damage, we're still gonna be able to make a lot of different builds, and we're still gonna have a lot of different activities. So don't react too harshly about the changes that you haven't even experienced yet. They are not removing the fun from Path of Exile, they are changing things. You're still gonna be able to find fun in Path of Exile. The game is gonna be harder, but that also means all those players who thought that they are really good just by copying some meta build, they're probably gonna suffer a bit more. It's just gonna take some time to adjust the changes. That's all I wanted to say. Now let's move on to the reaction, and I added timestamps if you want to jump to certain parts of the video. Have fun, and I'll see you in the next video to talk about the skills. 3, 2, 1. Didn't we skip like 10 seconds?
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Welcome to our live stream and thanks so much for joining us today. Our team had a lot of fun putting together Path of Exile's 3.15 expansion, and we've got a lot to share with you. Today's live stream is a busy one. We'll start by revealing the details of this expansion's new Challenge League. Then we'll show you how this expansion is going to dramatically shake up Path of Exile's metagame in a big way. Thirdly, we'll talk about our plans to make Path of Exile more challenging, restoring some of the adrenaline and terror that you may recall from the good old days of closed beta. Next up, we're going to talk about Path of Exile Royale, the 100-player Battle Royale mode that we experimented with back in 2018. We'll be launching a restored and revamped version of Royale today, once our question and answer session with Ziggy D has concluded, and this event will run over the weekend. Anyway, there's a lot to discuss, so let's get started with the trailer for Path of Exile's next expansion.
Let's go.
Many centuries ago, our people traveled to this accursed continent. We return to reclaim our lost relics. But Rayclast grips its secrets tightly. We must wrench them from its grasp.
Damn it, it circles again.
You know violence, we know trade. Retrieve our relics and we'll strike a deal. We will follow the path of our forebears to discover their unknown fate.
What? What the hell? 19 new gems.
They wait.
I'm gonna have to see that again.
For one who may finally challenge them. Wealth and power will be yours, should you survive.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Expedition.
Okay.
Due to the unique nature of Rayclast, the Kalgurans have found that the most effective way to excavate these sites is with explosives. And that's where you come in.
Sure.
You'll place a chain of explosives across the expedition site, carefully planning what each blast is going to unearth.
I see strings. Oh no, I see strings. I hate strings. I have PTSD from strings.
Once you push the plunger, any undead freed by the explosions
But
rise
I do
from
like
the ground and the
explosions.
slaughter begins. Tuyan offers you items with unreasonably high prices, but he's happy to haggle. You can always buy the item at the price he's offering, but if you offer a lower price, he might accept it,
Trading tutorial.
counteroffer, or withdraw the item entirely if he is offended by your lowball. He also occasionally
Hey, you
sells
hate trading
currency
with
items,
players?
so it's
Now we
worthwhile
can trade
keeping
with
some of the artifacts he's looking
NPCs
for on hand just
and
in case
haggle.
you see an opportunity. Grog is an average man pushed into Rayclust's dangers. He's helpful, concerned, and a bit fearful. He is very happy for you to do the fighting so that he can stay safe on the sidelines. He loves making deals and trying to upsell you. If you buy one of the items that Grog offers, he'll try to offer you a more complex deal where he improves the item via crafting. If you accept this deal, he'll try to upsell you again and again until you eventually walk away with your purchase. If you
Wow.
can't afford one of these incremental upgrades, you can leave and come back later with enough ruined artifacts to cover the cost.
That
Because you don't
potential
get to
can be
supply your own
OP.
starter item for this process, and have to select an item with promise from the range that he offers,
Unless it's just
his
a normal,
incremental crafting upgrades
like,
are priced rather
Exile
cheaply.
Slam.
Gwenin is a cynical gambler who claims that luck depends on how hard you believe. So you really need to convince yourself
Okay,
that
I
you're
already
going to get
don't
the
like her.
headhunter. If you don't, it's your fault. Gwenin shows you a set of base types with unknown properties. When you gamble by buying one, you'll receive a random item of that
Gee,
base
from
type
Diablo
back.
2.
It could easily be a random magic item that you have no use for, but can sometimes be a valuable rare or unique item. It's probably best to prioritize gambling on base types that are most
That's not
relevant to your
valuable.
character. Once you have exhausted all the items that interest you, it's possible to use a specific new currency item to re-roll the gamble window to a set of
Ritual.
new items of your current level. Sometimes a base type shows
Just like
up that
cheat
is a
in
lot more
Diablo 2.
expensive than it would otherwise be, and gambling on this item has a higher expected value than normal. You're taking the risk, though, that it could still be junk. Danig, Warrior Skald, is the heart of the expedition, its brave leader and lawmaster. Danig is interested in specific types of ruined artifacts and wants to trade these from you for a variety of options, such as currency that lets you re-roll vendor inventories, logbooks, or artifacts that other Kalguran traders are looking for. You can talk to the traders in the wild, in town, or in your hideout. They grant you access to your expedition locker, which is like the heist locker, a lockbox for League-specific items, which can be accessed in all three places also.
New
We're
stash
adding an
tabs.
affinity system to these lockers. Among the many relics of the ancient Kalgurans you might find at their expedition sites are logbooks. These ancient books chronicle the locations that their ancestors visited in
No
their
maps.
exploration of Rayclust. A logbook item can be rolled to have a set of explicit mods, like an endgame map. Each location within the logbook has its own implicit mods, as well as a theme that controls what types of remnants can be found there.
Backside mercenaries.
Talk to Danig in your hideout and give him a logbook you have found to go on an expedition to one of the locations it describes. These are all exotic places that no exiles
So-
have ever traveled to before.
Okay, I think I'm getting what
Just
this
like how a
is.
blighted map was
gonna
one giant
change.
blight encounter with no natural monsters, the expedition you go on from a logbook is one giant expedition.
This is like heist.
Expeditions from logbooks are not only different because of their large size,
So ritual,
but because
heist,
there are special objects that you can interact with.
Harvest
using
combined.
explosives. For example, trees that contain monsters or items, passageways that reveal chests or bosses, and so on. Speaking of bosses, there are some formidable ones for you to seek out, and a set of valuable new unique items and base types that can only
Oh.
come from expedition
Four
content.
sets? Is that
The
gonna be like
Kalguran
unique
people are
set?
not from Rayclust, so the items do not have the same defensive properties that ours do. Instead of armor, evasion, and energy shield, they have ward. This new base type is a pair of boots that grants ward and can get mods that
Oh.
improve it.
I
The way
hate
that
ward.
ward works is that you have a certain amount of it, and that amount is fully deducted from the first incoming hit that you receive. Your ward is then disabled and takes 5 seconds to re-enable. At that
Always
point,
hated
the
wards.
next hit you receive is substantially mitigated in the same way. It's quite a different style of defensive property and works
But I
very
mean,
well in conjunction with systems like
evasion.
evasion, block,
Yeah.
or dodge. As the undead enemies you unearth in expedition encounters are fallen Kalguran explorers, they also have a ward rather than traditional defenses.
Dodge meta. Don't get hit meta.
This unique helmet allows you to go all in with ward as a defensive option for your character. It causes all increases to energy shield
Oh,
to affect
shit.
your ward instead, grants you a bunch of ward, and helps it recover faster. This other unique helmet is also on a new base type that grants ward
Battle
instead of
Mage.
other defense types, but its properties don't interact with ward. Instead, it prevents you from dealing critical strikes and grants you Battle Mage, which adds spell damage equal to the damage of your main hand weapon. The new base types and uniques I showed you here are just some of the ones you'll be able to discover when you play next week. And we're doing that by introducing new gems. Lots
The most
and
important
lots
thing.
of new gems. The Earthbreaker support gem can be linked to any slam skill. Upon use, it summons an ancestor totem that uses that slam on your behalf. In
Finally!
this example, we've created a build that summons multiple ancestor tokens
Holy
that each
shit.
wield Tectonic Slam. As you can see, this build covers a large area in fiery death, while you get to stay out of harm's way.
Damn!
This is a powerful option for chieftains in particular, due to the various totem bonuses available on their Ascendancy passive.
This is gonna be nuts.
Adept players will also be wondering if the Earthbreaker support allows you to create leap-slamming totems, and the answer is
Of course.
absolutely.
Of course, why wouldn't it?
As with other ancestor totems, the Earthbreaker support also provides a buff to you, granting some increased area of effect with melee skills.
Kill all the FPS. Kill it.
Rage Vortex provides a new way to consume your rage, unleashing a whirling vortex that rapidly hits enemies within its range, tough targets.
Okay, that's
While you
interesting.
can only have one rage, Bone Shatter strikes your enemies with a forceful blow. If an enemy is stunned by this attack, a powerful shockwave is released. The area of effect of the shockwave is determined by the duration of the stun you inflicted.
I can't see anything. It's
Each
just
time you
normal
use Bone
auto
Shatter
attack.
against an enemy, you take physical damage yourself and gain a trauma stack.
Pretty cool.
The new Behead support gem can only support strike skills and is basically like a mini headhunter. When a supported strike kills a rare enemy, you'll steal one of its modifiers.
Ooh.
Obviously, this gem can't be as crazy as the full headhunter experience, so it comes with some
course.
restrictions. Stolen modifiers can persist for 20 seconds,
That-
and slaying another rare enemy will replace the modifier you have active.
Ah.
The Behead support gem also grants you more damage against enemies on low life.
Eh.
In conjunction with the Slayer's Bane of Legends Ascendancy passive, this bonus really embraces the execution theme of the Behead support.
Yeah, the theme, but how
Storm
viable
Rain is a new bow skill that fires arrows that stick into the ground. These arrows periodically pulse with lightning damage that arcs to nearby arrows. This skill works very well with multiple projectiles because you can quickly set up a large patch of
Oh
lightning.
yeah,
death.
you can also quickly kill FPS.
Existing ballista skills in Path of Exile pick their own targets, like sentry guns do. They'll start shooting immediately and will generally target the closest enemies. While this behavior is usually great, sometimes you want fine control over what your ballistas will fire at. The focused ballista support gem causes your ballistas to pick the same targets as you, and they will only fire when you fire your own ranged weapon. It also makes the
Interesting.
ballistas fire a lot faster than they otherwise would. The
Okay.
support gem allows you to effectively focus fire
Totems
on
matter.
specific enemies such as bosses.
And dodge.
Explosive Concoction is quite a novel skill. It introduces several new concepts that haven't been explored with skills before. Here you can see the Pathfinder throwing an explosive projectile at monsters. Firstly, you may
Grenades.
notice that the Pathfinder isn't holding any weapons. This is because Explosive Concoction is the very first ranged skill that can
Say
and
grenades.
must be used
Say
for harm.
grenades. Say
It's also
grenades.
the first skill that directly interacts with the benefits provided by your flasks. When you throw your explosive concoction onto a targeted
Oh,
area,
no.
it deals fire damage and uses available charges from your ruby, sapphire, and topaz flasks to grant bonuses based on what flask charges were used. The skill still works even if you don't have the appropriate flasks or charges to consume, but correctly managing your flask setup can greatly enhance the power of this skill. What we really
Flask
love about this
management.
gem is that it brings to life the idea of throwing your flasks at enemies and having them explode. In conjunction
like
with the
grenades,
flask-focused benefits provided
don't
by the
like flasks.
Pathfinder's Ascendancy passive skills, we're really excited to see what new playstyles are enabled by this
It
gem.
is cool idea, Alchemist, yeah, but
This is the Ambush skill. Voltaxic Burst grants a buff that counts down to 0, triggering a burst of lightning damage around you with a portion of that damage converted to chaos damage. Enemies slain by your Voltaxic Burst will also explode, dealing chaos damage around them based on their maximum life. You can stack up many Voltaxic Bursts on yourself at the same time. Consider using duration modifiers to modify the timing of the explosion so that you can cast a skill from safety and then move into a strategic position before it explodes.
if this can be automated, this is gonna be insane.
Summon Reaper creates a single powerful minion that uses fast melee physical attacks which cause bleeding. While the Reaper is active, you can use the skill again to direct the Reaper to a specific location, dealing a powerful attack along its path. The Reaper wants to be your only minion. It reduces the life and damage of your other minions, and will consume them to heal itself and gain damage and speed buffs. When
Who's gonna
designing this
want to
new
only
skill
have
for the
one minion?
Necromancer, we wanted to explore the idea of having a single ultimate minion. While there were ways to somewhat achieve this before, the Reaper is quite different in its abilities and interactions with other minions. It also feels much more active and directly under your control.
Okay.
One quick note though, the Reaper will absolutely eat your animated Guardian if you're not careful. Forbidden Rite is a powerful new spell that fires an exploding chaos projectile at a targeted area.
This is like Blazing Salvo, but here's. And with drawback. I don't know, this doesn't sound good.
The Eye of Winter is a large projectile that fires out a barrage of cold projectiles.
Oh, Diablo 2 again.
When it reaches its maximum distance or collides with the terrain, it explodes, firing out even more.
Well, at least it's not Frozen Orb.
This type of skill is one we've been wanting to bring to Path of Exile for a long time, and we felt that this new collection of skills was the perfect place to showcase it.
Just like Frozen Orb from Diablo 2.
This Inquisitor is using the new Battle Mage's Cry skill, which taunts nearby enemies and exerts your subsequent attacks, causing them to trigger a linked spell on your next melee hit. Here you can see the player taunting enemies with Battle Mage's Cry and using Consecrated Path to teleport to enemies. The slam is exerted, triggering Firestorm to rain down on. Mana Bond is a somewhat unusual gem in that its source of power relies on your current mana. Upon use, it creates a rune that explodes at a location you're targeting.
So it's not a
This
rework
explosion
of
can either deal
Stormbite.
more damage or cover a larger area depending on the state of your mana. The more mana that's missing from your mana pool, the more damage Mana Bond will deal, as it converts a percentage of your missing mana into added lightning damage.
Okay.
The more full your mana pool is, the more area the explosion will cover. This means that being adept at managing your mana pool becomes highly advantageous. For example, having slightly higher mana while clearing a map provides
Sounds
greater
clunky.
clear speed, but when fighting tougher enemies, having a lower current mana amount is better. Absolution has been designed for Guardians as a spell version of Dominating Blow. Absolution deals a damaging shockwave in a targeted area. When it kills an enemy, it summons a Sentinel
Isn't
of
that like
Absolution,
Storm-
which also deals
Storm
damage
Call?
by casting Absolution itself.
But with repeats?
The Sentinels also periodically cast a larger version of Absolution on the cooldown. While the Sentinels version of
Oh,
Absolution can't summon
it's
even more
Herald.
minions, they are a powerful army to fight against.
Holy shit, that's cool.
Spectral Helix throws a spectral copy of your melee weapon which spirals outwards from you,
Hey,
dealing
bless
damage to
Hammer.
any enemies it passes through. The design of this skill achieves what we always wanted Val Spectral Throw to be. We thought it was a really fun idea for a skill, but because of the limitations caused by the soul gathering requirements of Val skills, it wasn't possible to use Val Spectral Throw as a primary skill. Now that
Oh,
Spectral Helix
bless
can
Hammer.
live up to this purpose, we've reworked Val Spectral Throw, which we'll reveal closer to release. One of the other issues that Val Spectral Throw had was that it didn't work very well in indoors areas. However, Spectral Helix improves upon this, as the
These
projectiles
bounce
that
off.
spiral outwards can also bounce off of walls and proceed to hit enemies, rather than simply disappearing upon collision. Anyone who played Path of Exile during its closed beta 9 years ago can attest to how challenging the campaign was to play through. Early monsters were dangerous and terrifying, able
Don't
to kill
remember.
a character in a few seconds of inattention. Players feared going into the ship graveyard cave because of the flicker strike ghosts. They
Yep.
were careful around rowers because a couple of unlucky charges could outright
Yep.
kill them. Trying to
I
kill
do
a
remember
Goatman
that.
shaman while he had molten shell up was a pretty terrible idea. Nowadays, however, the game is a lot easier. We added level 2 and 4 support gems without increasing the difficulty of the game to compensate at all. Modern League mechanics shower the player in rare items from early levels, and we didn't
With
make the game
trash
any
items.
harder in response. For quite some time, Path of Exile players and developers
Remove
have been
flasks.
keen for a big
Remove
rework
flasks.
to its flask system. In the endgame, flasks grant really powerful buffs for a number of seconds after use, and these buffs allow the player to kill monsters quickly, filling the flasks up so they can be used as soon as they run out. With 5 such flasks equipped, the correct
Cooldown?
behavior was to spam the 1 to 5 keys repeatedly to keep all the flasks constantly up without any
Last
downspace.
macro?
This flask piano playstyle was popular enough that players were improvising devices to hit all of those keys at once. Spamming the same set of keys repeatedly to get a powerful set of buffs that rival the power you get from your entire set of equipped items is not a fun game mechanic. It's unbalanced and certainly isn't nice on your wrist. It prevents us from balancing the game well for players who aren't smashing their
Remove
keyboard
the risk.
constantly, and
Problem
seriously
solved.
restricts the design space we can use on flasks. In addition, certain unique flasks completely outclass other ones in terms of raw damage output. It was pretty clear to us that Path of Exile will be a lot better if we did some serious work on flasks to make sure that their incentives were aligned with fun rather than with spamming blindly. In the Expedition expansion, there are now 3 ways that you can use flasks. You can either continue to use the rebalanced ones the traditional way, or you can apply one of the 2 new types of currency items to your flasks. The Instilling Orb and Enkindling Orb drop as part of the regular drop pool from regular monsters and chests. The Instilling Orb will cause a flask to be used automatically upon a specific condition being met.
Ooh.
For example, when its charges become full or when you become affected by Ignite. This means that in the cases where you would previously want to time a specific flask usage, you can now rely on it happening automatically, with the only trade-off being that it may consume charges that you otherwise wouldn't intend it to. There are a variety of different conditions, and a random one is enchanted onto your flask, overwriting the others each time you use an Instilling Orb on it.
Okay, that's
The
interesting.
Enkindling Orb prevents utility flasks from gaining charges while active, but provides a big boost to their effect, duration, or various ways they interact with their charges. There are various different types of boosts, so you can use more orbs to reroll for the one that you want. When a flask removes a curse, it no longer applies a period of immunity to curses. Flasks that remove ailments now only provide a period of immunity to that ailment if they actually removed it. So if you get ignited, use a dowsing flask to remove the ignite and to gain immunity for a while. You can't spam the flask before you're ignited to be permanently immune. If you want permanent mitigation of ailments, there are other options for your build. Note that we have rebalanced ailment mitigation in general, so there aren't a few options that completely outclass the rest. Monster density in Path of Exile gets a lot higher as you play through the game. When we initially balanced
That's
flask
gonna be
charge
massive
generation for
outrage
decades,
because of that.
we did not anticipate the levels of monster density we would reach by 2021. Monsters in Acts 6 through 10 now generate fewer flask charges, and monsters in maps generate even fewer still. So now there's a lot more strategy involved with flask use. Flasks don't gain as many charges, so are a little harder to constantly spam, and aren't designed to provide such a powerful slew of permanent buffs. For a while
Condom
now, we've
flask.
been concerned with a power gap between support gems. There are gems that grant huge multiplicative damage bonuses, and there are gems that do a bunch of stuff you don't really care about. When you're building a character, by far the correct choice is just to stack on all the multiplicative damage bonuses and ignore all the interesting utility support gems, because their opportunity cost is just too high. We're reducing the damage bonuses on the
Damage is
support
damage.
gems that are clearly just about
Can't
huge
do damage
boosts,
without damage.
and trying to give them impactful and appropriate downsides. For example, the Controlled Destruction support gem now penalizes critical strikes multiplicatively. Overall, this works out to a total of somewhere around 20%, potentially as high as 40% damage reduction for a character using a fully 6-link skill with entirely damaged support gems. There's much less impact for characters that use utility support gems or those who didn't have a 6-link setup. This achieves two goals for us.
Sounded like Control
Firstly,
Destruction.
the gap between good and
got a
bad
massive
support
nerf.
gems has been narrowed, creating more interesting build opportunities. Secondly, player damage output in the endgame is reduced, which is a goal for this balance pass. As I mentioned, we want to iteratively restore challenge to Path of Exile.
Oh
It's
my
worth
god.
clarifying that we haven't buffed unused utility support gems as part of this balance pass. It's fully intentional that it's a reduction of power for the most damaging ones. When we're designing skills for Path of Exile, the mana cost of the skill is a mechanism to allow us to have larger impactful effects. Bigger skills should cost more mana to cast. Unfortunately, this entire mechanism is currently bypassed by triggering skills as this skips their mana cost. This basically means that we can't design really powerful spells. In 3.15, triggering skills through support gems will require paying their mana cost. In fact, sometimes it now costs more than casting the gem by hand.
Rip gas from damage taken
Thankfully, though,
builds.
this isn't very hard with
Oh my
constructed
god.
characters. Certain support gems that were originally disabled from supporting triggered skills, like Arcane Surge, can now
What
be
about
used
gas
to
and
support
grid?
them. Builds that use triggered skills are some of the most interesting characters in Path of Exile, and they are often the best representation of the craziness that our character customization system allows. We're confident that they are just as powerful as before, but we now have more interesting design space to explore with future skills.
Wow.
Now let's talk about
Yeah, rip
movement
gas and
skills.
damage taken and
As you know, most
gas and
interaction
crit
with
builds.
monster behavior is essentially bypassed if you're using an extremely effective movement skill.
But
This
there
is
are
okay
gonna
if
be
you're specialized deeply into customizing that skill, but it's currently the default state for
other
any character
modifiers
to use
to
flame dash,
enable.
smoke mine, or dash without any further investment. We've made a completely new Royale-specific passive skill tree that has everything you need to quickly adapt your character for high-speed PvP combat.
Hey, one more
It
passive?
features approximately
How about a
90
new
new
passive?
custom notable passives, a special new left-aligned window so you can stay aware of your surroundings
whole
while
new passive
allocating
today.
skills, and you gain 2 passive skill points per level. You're also able to allocate passive skills from any of the tree's starting locations, regardless of which character class you pick.
Okay.
Let's have a look at the new supporter packs that are available right now to celebrate the launch of Expedition and help
Let's
fund
see.
the ongoing development of Path of Exile, Path of Exile 2, and special modes like Royale. The Soulkeeper and Aesir supporter packs come with masses of points to spend in the store, social frames, forum titles and badges, a download of the digital soundtrack.
Wait, is
and,
that
of
like
course,
the big
exclusive
supporter
cosmetic
packs?
microtransactions like
Or is that
armor
like the
sets and
$60?
weapon skins. The Soulkeeper series comes with an exclusive pet.
Ah, we added like a bigger. Like, okay, I see. Damn. Okay, instant buy. Instant buy. Yeah, okay. Damn.